Feet are underneath our hips, making sure that we have a good stable grounding of our feet into the mat below us. Our shoulders are not up around our ears, maybe a gentle roll to set them back a little bit. And let's take a few deep breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth. Noticing the muscles in our faces soften. Muscles in our bodies slowly melting towards the earth. And settling into the space around us. Noticing the sounds, the temperature. Getting a sense of the mood and the energy of our bodies. Running through a quick body scan from head to toe. Bringing our awareness to the breath. Breathing in curiosity for the practice. And letting go of any expectation or judgment of ourselves. Honoring the state of our bodies today. Or perhaps setting an intention for today's practice. And with our eyes closed or open, we'll slowly start to dance, to shake up some of our energy, to move it around, finding a sway, perhaps lifting our feet, letting our arms sway left to right, our heads lowering and circling at whatever speed feels good for our bodies, listening to the body and what it desires at this point. Noticing the change of our breath. Maybe bringing our hands up to the shoulders or even above the shoulders. That feels good. Shaking side to side, forward and back. Maybe kicking the feet out. Again, just listening to our bodies, going with what it's telling us it needs. And maybe it doesn't need to shake and bounce, and that's fine too. Maybe for 10 more seconds, we just move it around, letting our bodies flop and shake. And then coming to stillness if you're not already there. Bringing our feet back down under the hips, our arms are alongside our bodies, feeling the new energy. Maybe our bodies are swaying. Just checking in with that change of energy, what we might be feeling. Bringing our awareness back to the breath. Making sure our shoulders have released and reset back down away from our ears, noticing any tension in our jaws. And on the next inhale, we're going to sweep our arms above our heads, arching our lower backs, inhaling Inhaling, deep breaths in through to the abdomen. Exhale, we round forward, tucking our hips underneath us. Arms are alongside the ears, hollow holds. Inhaling, we arch back, reaching and lifting our chests. And we exhale, rounding forward. Continuing this, moving to the flow of our breath with purposeful motion. To the depth that our back will allow. One more. Inhaling, we come all the way back up, reaching. And on the exhale, we're going to come into a side bend option to grab onto one wrist, making sure our hips are stacked underneath, our shoulders on top of the ankles. Option, of course, is to release one arm down to the side, opening up our side body. While not compressing the inner side, reaching tall. One more big breath. We come back to center, reaching up, inhaling. Exhale over to the other side. Driving through the hip, grounding through the anchored leg. And being sure not to compress on the inside, lengthening and creating space in our side body. Last breath here. Inhaling, we reach all the way up. Exhaling, bringing our hands back down to heart center. Deep breath in between. We're going to flow through some squats. So inhale, reaching up. Hands to heart center. We squat all the way down. Inhale, forward fold. Exhale, we roll up gently, stacking the vertebrae, shoulders, neck, and head. And we repeat, inhaling, reaching up. Exhale, all the way down. Swooping forward, inhale. Exhale, we round up gently, warming up the spine, warming up the entire body. Again, we float to our breath, finding that rhythm and the connection between our breath and our movement. Slowly warming into the back body, finding length in the back of the legs. We'll do two more. Finding depth with each sequence. Creating head space as we go. Coming all the way back up, reaching, inhale. Exhale, hands to heart center. Sinking ourselves down as we wiggle our feet out into a goddess squat. Feet are pointing out on an angle. Tucking our pelvis back underneath us and checking in to see that we can see our toes beneath and beyond our knees. Keeping our toes light. Shoulders again are stacked under the ears. way up, straightening the legs. Exhale, we hinge and we scoop towards the earth, sun and moon flowers. Inhaling, reaching up. Then exhaling, maintaining our stability, working through our wobbles with our affirmations. Connecting that rhythm of breath to our movement. Calm and steady. Two more. And we'll hold down in our goddess squat, reaching our arms out from the shoulders. Option to rotate the palms up in order to engage the upper back and to open up the chest and shoulder span. Calm inner strength. Noticing the rhythm of our breath and our heart. One more breath here. And we bring our hands into our inner thighs and we shift our weight left to right, lowering one shoulder at a time. Lifting the torso back up as we inhale. And shift. Getting a gentle rotation of the spine. One more on each side. Bringing ourselves back to center, rounding out the spine, pointing the toes forward, forward fold, wide angle, allowing our torsos to hang heavy, allowing the head to be loose, creating extra space between the vertebrae. With our fingers, we press our torsos parallel to the floor, elongating the spine. Good. And we're going to shift our weight left to right, tapping our toes, floating through a motion that shifts our weight from one leg to the other. Option to scoop down. Option, of course, is to find our arms or our hands on our legs for support. Warming into the quadricep and the inner thigh muscles, building strength but also length. And a gentle flow that matches our rhythm of breath. Starting to generate a bit of heat. Lunging the legs, hinging at the hips, trying not to round out our spines. One more on each side. And then we're going to come into our Skandasana, holding on one side. Option to rotate the foot, to lower down. Option to stay high, finding a pose here that helps to open up the inner thigh while we build strength in our anchored leg. Option, of course, is to find a rounding of the spine if that feels good, or a nice tall torso. Fitting the pose to our body, not forcing ourselves into anything that doesn't feel comfortable. The more we practice these philosophies on the mat, the better able we'll be to do this in real life, in everyday life and circumstances. One more big breath. Pressing ourselves back to center, wide angle forward fold in between. Maybe noticing if the body has released a little bit of tension. And then we'll slowly shift all the way over to the other side. Skandasana here again, starting high with support, option to rotate the foot, option to sink a little bit lower if that feels like a stable pose for us today. Great. One more big breath. And then we push ourselves back up into our wide angle forward fold. Wiggling that out. Planting our left hand under our faces and opening up the right arm over the chest and over the back. Opening our chests. Gazing up towards the right hand. Or option to bring the right arm behind the back if that feels more comfortable. Engaging the upper back, drawing the shoulder blade in. No matter how we keep our arm, we get a gentle twist. Using our left hand to push ourselves into the pose a little bit deeper. Checking in with the back of the legs and our breath. Bringing our right hand down to the earth, replacing it where the left was, opening up to the left. Finding our gaze and the position of our left arm. Engaging the shoulder blade and feeling what's happening in the back of the legs. Good. Bringing the left hand back down. Go ahead and hang heavy. Noticing a difference in the energy that we may be holding in the back of our legs and our neck. And taking 2 more breaths to release that tension. Good. Once again, pressing our torsos with our hands. And we'll go ahead and wiggle our feet in, heels, toes. Finding our feet underneath our hips. We bend our knees gently. And we rock side to side. Bringing our hands to the inside of our elbows. Checking in with the lower back, each of the sides. Good. And let's come all the way up, rolling ourselves 1 vertebrae at a time, shoulders, neck, and head into some stability poses here. Nice. Once again, bringing our hands to heart center, we'll float our way into a chair, tree pose. Left foot or right, come all the way up. We start to lift the leg. We start to draw the foot in towards the opposite leg, maintaining a tall and erect spine, making contact with the foot on the inner thigh, finding our balance, somewhere to gaze at, actively pressing the left knee or the right knee back towards the wall. Tall torsos, our hands are pressing together, shoulders are down and back. And again, we have the option to work through our wobbles with our affirmations. Good, keeping our hands at heart center, we slowly extend our leg and we come into our tabletop, keeping our hips forward facing. Flexing the back foot, the foot that's lifted, toes are driving towards the earth. Warrior 3, option to come into a strong warrior with our arms alongside our torsos, reaching towards our foot. Option to bring our hands out beyond the head, alongside the ears, whatever feels good here. Calm strength. I am confident. I am calm. I am peace. Holding here for 3 more breaths. And we bring our hands to the earth, single leg standing split. Pressing the knee back, the anchored leg, working to create length in that anchored leg. Good. Bringing our back foot down, crescent lunge, up on the toes of the back foot, breathing in, lifting our arms over top of our shoulders, finding stability here in our crescent lunge, lifting our torsos tall, reaching towards the sky. Hips are facing forward. Hands to heart center. We'll come into a rotation, prayer pose over that lunge leg. Gazing up beyond the elbow. Finding that calm strength. Pressing the elbow into the outer thigh, elongating the torso, gazing up. Finding our drishti. Creating head space as we create strength and stability. Good. One more big breath here. We rotate back to center. And step our feet back in. Oh, yay for that. Go ahead and wiggle the legs. Shifting the weight left to right. Maybe bending one knee at a time. Or of course, finding stillness if that's preferable. And we'll slowly roll ourselves up, bending our knees, rolling one vertebrae at a time, shoulders, neck, and head. We come back to our standing mountain pose, hands to heart center. Shifting our weight to the opposite leg. We come into our floating tree once again, coming up on the toes, starting to lift that leg, starting to bring it in towards the other. Finding a placement for the foot without torquing the spine, actively pressing the knee towards the back of the room, and then finding a placement for the arms. Maybe they stay here at heart center. Maybe they reach out. Maybe we're ready to open ourselves up to light, to love, to joy. Reaching. our hands back to heart center. We float our leg out, warrior three, flexing the foot, pointing the toes towards the earth, hips are square. And once we found our stability in our anchored leg, we can move our arms into a pose that feels good for us, strong and powerful. Three more breaths here. And we plant our hands on the earth, single leg split, pressing our knee back, lifting our floating leg, creating length in that leg that's anchored, hinging at the hips, and allowing the head to hang heavy. Excellent. Floating the back foot to the earth, crescent lunge. Finding stability between both legs and then bringing our arms up over the shoulders. Holding here as we reach tall, creating length in the sides. Gentle arch of the lower back. Bringing our awareness to our breath. Good. Hands to heart center. We rotate over the lunge leg, bringing the opposite elbow over. Finding somewhere to gaze at as we elongate the spine, pressing our elbow into the outer thigh. And we rotate back to center, bringing our hands to the earth, stepping back up into our forward fold, and wrapping our hands underneath the fronts of our feet. Option to bend the knees on the inhale, option to exhale and extend back, expanding and lengthening. Focusing a little bit more on the back of the legs, but also the upper back and the neck. One more breath here. We release our hands. We lower ourselves all the way down to the mat into all fours. Grabbing a sip of water in between. Great. Slowly settling into our tabletop position. Maybe shifting the hips left to right. We're going to shift our attention to our bird dog. So with our left foot extended, toe is driving into the earth, flexing the quadricep muscle, neck is loose. And we lift our right arm alongside of our ear, reaching parallel to the floor. Option here to lift the left leg, keeping our hips squared, finding that stability. Option to bring our elbow to the knee and extend. A dynamic movement or a hold, depending on what we need and how we are able to challenge ourselves. Big reach. Engaging the entire back side of the body. Noticing the glutes fire, the upper back. One more big breath. And we reset our hand and our leg back down, shifting and rinsing that out. Good. Let's shift over to the opposite side. So the right leg comes out, extends, right toes are tucked under, and we lift our left arm alongside the ear, parallel to the floor. Option to lift the right leg, keeping our hips squared, our neck is neutral. Option to hold here, engaging the back side of the body, or to tuck in, right knee. Generating a little bit more heat, strength, stability of body and mind. Focusing on the physical movement, the activation of our muscles in order to create that head space to get out of our heads this hour. The more we practice, the easier it gets. One more big breath. And we reset, hand down to the earth, knee down to the earth, shift that out. Now go ahead and circle as big or as little of circles as our body desires. And we can shift directions. Two more circles. Coming out of our meditative flow. We'll step up into a down dog, curling our toes under our shins. Deep breaths in. And we exhale all the way up, lifting our hips, pressing our heels towards the earth, shifting the weight left and right. Or finding stillness, perhaps we want to shift the weight to one side and hold, opening up the side. Noticing any sensations running from the lower back through to the ankle. I sure do. Enjoying the warmth of the body in order to create additional flexibility. Working through any kinks and tension held, maybe tension created from our driving or sitting postures, maybe tension created from other exercises that we've done throughout the week. One more big breath. And we'll come back to center, centering our dog. And then we'll float into a plank. We're going to do a sequence. You know my favorite, lifting our left leg off the earth. Pressing all of our weight back into our right heel. We'll float into a plank, drawing our left knee into our chest. When you're ready, go ahead and float forward and extend all the way back. Floating forward. Extending back on the exhale. Finding that rhythm to match our breath. Continuing to build strength in our wrists. Finding the grounding in our fingertips and knuckles pressing towards the earth. 2 more. And on this last one, we hold our leg all the way up. Flexing the left foot, toes are pointed towards the earth. Option to come up on the fingertips of the right hand, one fingertip. Option to bring the right arm alongside the body. We build in our practice each week. Calm inner strength. Working through the wobbles. Excellent. And we reset all the way down into our down dog. Wiggle that out. Rinse. Option, of course, to come into a child's pose. Any micro movements that the body might desire. And we'll all meet up down in child's pose between sides. Walking our hands out, sinking the hips back. Floating left to right or finding stillness. Option to bring the hands under the head. We'll be here for a few more breaths. Resetting, releasing the tension on the wrists, and noticing the rhythm of our breath. Perhaps it was a little bit more accelerated with our heart rates. Exciting times as we build our practice. Great. On the next inhale, we'll draw ourselves back up into all fours. Resetting. And on the next exhale, we lift our hips back up into our down dog. Deep breaths in. And we lift. Good. Shifting our attention to the opposite side of the body, lifting our right leg high, finding our stability, pressing our weight into our left leg. Option to hold here, option to float into a plank, option to do a dynamic plank. Inhaling, drawing the right knee into the chest, shoulders come over the hands. Exhale, extending the leg back. Inhaling, floating forward. Exhale, we extend back, pressing our weight into the left. Pressing into the shoulder blades, engaging the abdomen. Slow and steady. You know it won't last forever. We've got this. Digging deep within us. Activating the Ujjayi breath. 2 more. Extending the leg, flexing the right foot, toes are pointed to the earth, finding that stability, holding here. Option to bring the fingers up on the left hand, option to come up onto one finger, making sure our necks are neutral. We have our stability, we are always able to lift that left arm. It may not be today, but it will happen. We build our confidence mentally with the strong strength of our physical being and those affirmations that we convince ourselves that we are strong, we are stable, we are confident, and we are competent. We got this. Affirm our way out of our wobbles for 1 more breath. And we reset to the earth, pedal it out, opening up the sides, working into the hips and the lower back. Yummy, yummy, yummy. whenever you're ready, we'll all meet up in child's pose, opening our knees a little bit wider. An option to bring the hands behind the back, interlacing them, rolling the shoulders forward, working into the wrists. A counter stretch to all of the strength that we've built through our down dogs and planks. Bringing our awareness back to the breath. Maybe even our happy place if this isn't it. Or a swirling of purple behind our mind's eye. Solidifying and imprinting the practice in our bodies and minds. Creating space in our minds for clarity, for good things to come to us. Two more big breaths here in our child's pose. And we're going to press ourselves up through rock pose and onto our glutes. Into a seated tree pose. We're going to do a couple of more wild things to work on our glutes and our stability. So our left hand is underneath the shoulder, the right leg is extended long. We inhale and reach up, lifting our hips, the pelvis is pressing forward. We open up our chest and bend our backs, holding here. Once again, finding somewhere to gaze at, or perhaps you'd rather close the eyes. And we'll come all the way down. Great. Extending the left leg long, shaking that out. Gentle little wiggle. And we shift our weight all the way over to the other side. Tucking the right leg in. The right hand comes underneath the shoulder. We press ourselves up when we're ready. Extending the left arm over our shoulder, lifting the hips, arching the lower back. Deep breaths here. Engaging the glutes to press the pelvis forward. Noticing the energy generated through the right arm, up into the shoulder and back. Calm, steady rhythm of breath. And we lower all the way back down. Setting our legs in front of us, give them a little wiggle. Curling the feet in towards the glutes, and just hug ourselves into a little ball, rounding out the lower back, tucking our chins to our chest. Grabbing a sip of water if that's desirable at this time. We're going to come into a side plank here. So I'm going to come so you can see my back. On our forearm, our elbow is underneath our shoulder. Our legs are about 90 degrees. And scissoring the feet, one in front, one in back. We lift ourselves up, lifting the hips, straightening the legs. Option to bring the arm over our bodies. Option to bring the arm over our ear. Pressing into the right shoulder, pressing the earth away, lifting our hips. Keeping the hips high. We're here for 3 more breaths. Really round forward, bringing both forearms onto the earth. We're up on both toes of each foot. Our torsos are parallel to the floor. Again, our necks are neutral. We can move them around. Tucking our abdomen in and up as if there's a string attached to the belly button, drawing up through our spine and up to the sky. Pressing the earth away, pressing into the shoulder blades, feeling the elevation. 2 more breaths. And then with this, the feet rotated the opposite direction, scissoring, coming over onto the left side. We find a placement for our right arm, keeping our hips high. Strong legs. Pressing the earth away with the elbow. Two more breaths. And we roll ourselves forward once again, bringing our elbows underneath our shoulders. Toes are together. Torsos are parallel to the floor. The neck is neutral in alignment with the spine. Gazing down. Finding that inner strength for 3 more breaths. Good. And we lower the knees, we sink back. Child's pose. Yay for that. Well done. Bringing the awareness back to the breath. The energy that we've created, the celebration of getting through those very strong and challenging poses. Reflecting on any intention that we may have set at the beginning of our practice. Lining up our intention for the days ahead. Perhaps incorporating affirmations, imprinting them on our minds and bodies, just as we imprint today's practice on our body and mind. Inhaling ourselves back into all fours. Sitting all the way down onto our glutes, grabbing that last sip of water, stacking our feet on top of our legs, or easy seated pose with our feet one in front of the other. And the goal is to work into the back of the hip and the glute, the psoas. And once we found ourselves in our seated position, inhaling, reaching our arms up, and exhale, hinging forward. Keeping our sit bones grounded, bringing our hands to the earth in front of us, option to rock. Sinking ourselves into the earth as the hip releases tension. Coming onto our forearms, or maybe stacking our fists slowly and gently. Noticing the change of sensations. Celebrating those micro gains, those micro ganancias that we might be feeling. Every week, a little bit more. On the next inhale, we press our torsos up with our hands, stacking the vertebrae. We extend our legs out, giving them a little wiggle. And then we cross the opposite foot in front or on top. Finding our way back into that easy seated pose as suits us. That pose that we know will help us make our gains. Inhaling, reaching up, tall torso, elongated spine, hinging forward, melting into the hips. Keeping an erect spine, we're not rounding it out. Lifting our chests as we sink forward, not falling too far too fast. Two more breaths here. And then we slowly press ourselves back up, stacking the vertebrae, shoulders, neck, and head, rolling the shoulders back, extending the legs out in front, keeping the feet flexed, pointed to the sky, inhaling, reaching above our shoulders, exhaling, hinging forward, option to hold here, option to reach around the front of our feet, option to pulse, combination, move through these micro movements that feel good on the body. And whenever you're ready, go ahead and roll the spine back up, wiggling out the feet. We lower ourselves into Shavasana. Final resting pose, either in easy supported or complete Shavasana or on our side, ever feels good. Allowing our bodies to rest, to be still, and to imprint all the goodness that we've done today. Perhaps taking this moment to reflect on the entire day ahead before us. Just capturing in our minds the highlights of the day's events, the successes, the things that made us smile or laugh, productivity. Taking a moment to run through a body scan from head to toe, noticing any changes of sensations or energy. Filling our lungs with fresh air, deep breaths in, expanding the ribcage laterally. Holding at the top and sighing it out. Let's do one more like that. Big breaths in. And we sigh it out. Hugging our knees into our chests. Rocking side to side. Gentle massage of the lower back. And when we're ready to take on the day ahead, we can roll ourselves over onto the side, pressing ourselves up gently. And taking a moment to give thanks for the opportunity to practice together, thanks for this community, the continued support and love that emanates from this community. Thank you for the time that you've chosen to spend with me and allowing me to continue on in your journeys. With big smiles on our faces, we give thanks for our bodies and our community. The light in me sees the light in you. Namaste.